Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sloppy Lab. This is Bottom of the Beaker, the weekly show about the design, ducks, and strategy of Keyforge. Everyone, and I mean everyone's favorite unique deck game. I'm JT Mid-Spring Cleaning Russell, and with me tonight is the man who wants you all to know about his brand new business, doing custom characters in 1 minute or less. And the best news is whether you're firing up a fair, festival, or birthday party, bring the whole family down because you can get $3, $4, $57 if you whisper the promo code SLOPPY. Of course, talking about Quick Draw 3457. How we doing this evening, Quick Draw?
I'm doing pretty good. Happy Wednesday. I will have everyone know that I am the worst artist ever. So you do not want me doing any kind of caricature or artwork of any sort for you.
Ah,
And do not pay $34 or $57 for it. That will be a ripoff.
the chat is asking, how do you whisper a promo code? And all I can say is softly.
There you go.
There you go. And welcome indeed to the chat. Hey, folks. Hey, Fudge, Fox Samal, Data Forge Stream Clog, and welcome, peeps. Good to have you here with us. Yeah, we are excited to be back in the lab. And actually, wait, while we got folks here, and you in podcaster land have your ear too, we are going to be looking to plan out the end, the culmination, not the end, the culmination of season 2 of Bottom of the Beaker. So if you have anything you'd really like to see us hit or listen to us hit, seeing might be tough. I don't know, hop on over to the old Sloppy Labwork Discord server and chime in on the Topic Ideas channel. Oh my goodness, good morning, Vietnam. How's it going, Riku? Welcome to the
Wow.
chat. First time chatter. Somebody get this man, I don't know, coffee?
A
Is it coffee
sticker?
time? Sticker.
Probably coffee time. Yeah. Uh,
Nice.
get that man a coffee with an egg in it.
Absolutely. Is that a thing? Do you do coffee with egg in it?
So I would love Riku to here fact check me, but here in America, if you find a Vietnamese coffee shop, they will sell egg in a coffee. I don't know if that's a thing they do in Vietnam, but that is a thing they do in American Vietnamese coffee shops.
That sounds like an Arnold Schwarzenegger, like like I'm gonna just put a raw egg in the smoothie and chug it down, sort of a thing. You know? I
Yeah,
don't
it's a
know.
thing.
It's
Confirmed.
all right.
So, but Riku's not a coffee person, so maybe have a tea then, like us.
Okay. Tea indeed. Well, we'll toast to Riku either way. Welcome indeed to the chat. uh,
Yeah, it's good to have you here, Riku.
cool. And wow, we've got a fun episode in store for you all today. This should be a good time. It's no secret around the lab that I am a fan of NPE decks, and one of our very first. I can't remember if it was one of the very first or not, but I'll say it, one of the very first artifacts that we covered in our double-sided artifacts series was Heart of the Forest, the much behated Heart of the Forest. Yeah.
I tried to look up in our past notes when we did Heart of the Forest because, like, I'm pretty sure we did Heart of the Forest. I could not find anything, and I was convinced that we did not do it.
I guarantee you we did it. I think we did it in like a three-parter. Three-parter was like Heart of the
Mm.
Forest plus Quixelstone plus maybe one other tear-inducing artifact, and we made the case that yeah, the effect is symmetric, but the tears are all on one side of the table when we're playing.
Yeah. Well, this episode is going to be a lot more fun because Dark Heart of the Forest, in my opinion, in the opinion of others that I've spoken to, is a more fun card than Heart of the Forest.
hmm
More interesting, better design, very cool card, and so I'm excited to talk about it. Even though, full disclosure, I don't own a Dark Heart of the Forest deck,
Oh,
so yeah, a little awkward there, I guess.
I don't own one either. Are we just
Well,
done with the episode? Everybody
I
go
think we're
home.
done. Hope you guys had fun.
Yeah.
I hope you're not learning anything the rest of this evening as you listen to this.
Uh,
But maybe you will. We talked to some experts. We reached out to some of you guys to share your opinions. So hopefully we have something insightful to say about it.
cool. Well, Dark Heart of the Forest is very obviously right. Experts experts confirmed. Chat. Dark Heart of the Forest clearly, obviously, a riff on the aforementioned Heart of the Forest. So let's just kind of give ourselves a quick reminder of what these cards do, grim or otherwise, you know. So Heart of the Forest, artifact, location with an amber pip. And it reads, has a static effect. It reads, each player cannot forge keys while they have more forged keys than their opponent. Mm-hmm.
So that's the original one, the
That's
Heart of the Forest.
the OG, the OG,
Yeah.
where it all began. Yep. And Dark Heart of the Forest is what happens when you give Heart of the Forest some dark energy. No, dark amber. Oh, I was in Pokemon mode for a moment there. You know, get your energy. Just kidding. Dark Heart of the Forest, also an artifact, a location with an amber pip, and it has the text: each haunted player skips their forge a key step. Boom. That's all we know about Dark Heart of the Forest. we've done a lot.
Yeah. What is the flavor text? Rooted in wisdom and nurtured by change, the hearts unfurl, revealing the ever-shifting tapestry of power. It's
Ooh,
beautiful.
that is beautiful. Now I have to. I would have been really impressed if Heart of the Forest had some flavor text as well that harkened back. Because I think actually like Key Charge and Spooky Charge have flavor text that connect them as well.
You've made that connection before. Yeah, that's a good observation. Let me see if I can find Spooky Charge real quick. Spooky Charge says, add a dash of fear and experience, which is, I think, continuing on the Key Charge, which is like talking about a recipe or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Spooky or Key Charge with the flavor text. You might call it madness, but for all we know, madness is a key ingredient, and that's credited to Inca the Spider. Mm-hmm.
There you go. And there is no flavor text on Heart of the Forest.
Because your game is moving so fast, you will not have time to look down and smell the roses, read that flavor text, as it were.
That's too bad.
It is a shame. I mean, it is looking at the card now on my screen. It has a very conspicuous block of empty space below the text on Heart of the Forest.
I agree. It
Yeah.
definitely does.
All right. Well, missed opportunity, but we did not make the same mistake with Dark Heart of the Forest. So already an improvement there. Um, And I think you alluded to maybe our preference for the newer design, but I do want to talk for one more moment on the OG design, as it were. So, Heart of the Forest, I would make the case is a more powerful card, a more potent effect, though I like its design a lot less. As much as I enjoy thinking about decks with this card in it and puzzling through situations with this card in play, I think that from a design perspective, this card kind of falls into the trap of, uh, uh, just because the thing is interesting does not mean it's fun. Like
Mm.
we can make some very interesting situations, but that does not mean that's necessarily fun. So I think this is kind of a poster child for interesting equals not fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing with Heart of the Forest was when it came out in Age of Ascension, I don't really think there was a ton of stuff that lets you interact with it as the opposing player. If the opponent chose to not forge, there weren't very many cards back then that your opponent could play that would like give you amber or make you forge. As soon as Worlds Collide came out, then you started getting the Exalt, and you found ways to make them forge, even if they didn't want to. But I know many players have complained in the past about Heart of the Forest, and there are strategies. Apparently we did an episode on this, so we can go back and listen to that if you want to hear about strategies in Heart of the Forest. But Dark Heart of the Forest, I totally agree, is a much better design because it has a lot more built-in interaction and strategy for both sides of the table, which is like right in our wheelhouse for this type of episode.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it really just refers to the haunted mechanic for both players. So whether or not you're playing Grim Reminders or not, you can still have some interaction with it. You can still change how you're playing with and against it. And so it does leave a lot more strategy involved. And as the opposing player, you have to figure out like, is this Dark Heart of the Forest going to be a big part of this game plan, or is it something I just need to watch out for, or is it something I need to play around the entire game, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'll make another assertion here. I really do not like Heart of the Forest for say adaptive matches, but I
Mm.
do enjoy it. Do enjoy me a Dark Heart of the Forest in an adaptive deck. Not to say that there aren't interesting Heart of the Forest decks with adaptive for adaptive purposes. I think we actually saw a couple that were reasonably successful. I want to say Fabulousing took one to a Kagi season a few back to some success. Um, and yeah, folks kind of struggled putting the pieces together. But but as a general
Yeah.
rule, I'm not a big fan.
It is tricky. So I could see it having some success in adaptive, but I think when you encounter a player who knows what they're doing with it, then you get into that area of why you don't like it as an adaptive deck and why I don't like it as an adaptive deck. Because if you, I go into adaptive assuming my opponent's better than me, and if I'm bringing a Heart of the Forest deck, I'm going to have to assume they know exactly what to do with it. And if that's the case, then both players are going to be able to take advantage of it in games 1 and 2. Game 3 is going to come down to whether or not the draws go in the right order to get the lock. Like lock decks to me are not good adaptive decks.
Hmm.
And that's really what a Heart of the Forest was, or still is, maybe in some cases. And can be sometimes in Dark Heart of the Forest as well.
Can be, and yeah, and going further on that too, uh, I don't like for adaptive uh, decks where there is a, let's call it a lock or some sort of key combination where if it hits, you're likely to win, and if it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
hit, then you're playing a much lower powered deck. You're much less likely to win, right? There are going to
Yeah.
be matchups where Heart of the Forest comes down, you have a way to forge keys through it or behind it, and so you can kind of take your time shedding chains and then win the game at your leisure. And you get to a game 3 where you're now bidding on whether or not you can draw this card, right? And this is when you start to get into a territory of, you know, expanding the luck side of the skill luck split after you formalize deck out of the equation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Dark Heart uh, has this tension built in that gets more interesting and has layers that go on top of it as you start adding small numbers of chains, and it's not just an auto win necessarily, because there's still kind of room to maneuver with it on the board, even if you have no artifact control in your deck, say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another big difference here between these two is not just the haunted and non-haunted, but Heart of the Forest says that if a player has more keys, they cannot forge keys. Period. So
Yes.
key cheats and the forge a key step. Dark Heart of the Forest specifically references the forge a key step. So hard R definitely gets around it. Key cheats also get around it. So if you are banking on Dark Heart of the Forest as like your game plan for how you're going to win a game, no matter what you face, there's a lot of answers for it. And it's not something that you can build a game plan around like you probably could with Heart of the Forest.
Mm-hmm. Especially right now, we're seeing Kichis everywhere. I look at
Mm.
Darkheart as, a bundle of miasmas, perhaps,
It's a good way to look at it.
as opposed to a perma cease forge, if it, as you will. Yeah. Yeah, cease forge also stopping key cheats, as we well know.
We both learned that lesson.
Hey.
Um, yeah, that's a callback to probably 2 episodes, 3 episodes ago, something like that.
Two or three. Yeah, indeed, indeed.
So we actually asked a lot of you guys about like sending us your favorite Dark Heart of the Forest decks. We can look at them, and one of the ones we got actually also had a Cease Forge in it, and it uses these two cards in great combination to kind of prevent the opponent from forging for a very long time and winning the game that way. So um, very cool couple of cards, even though it's a double rare cross house combo, but still pretty cool. You like to see those unique things in
Mm-hmm.
people's favorite decks. But what else? What else did we see with some of the Heart of the Forest decks that stuck out to you?
Okay, so the ones that were passed to us, there were a number that had kind of my own graveyard manipulation things, right? So your invigorating showers, warfalines, as well as kind of opposing graveyard things. And I have to say, Darkheart has given me a renewed appreciation for warfaline, particularly looking back at the sealed event at the last Vault Tour that we were at. I think Drazgor was playing a deck that had two or three Warflames, and yeah,
Yeah, and
these
Dark Heart
were
of the
in
Forest.
Dark Art of the Forest, right, and used to great effect, right, constantly keeping himself in sort of a sweet spot, or waiting until the opponent is getting ready to flip and then knocking you back a turn or two from being able to flip the deck. So really cool. It's given me a lot of appreciation for that. But a deck that I gave some plays was actually one submitted by our dear friend Orion, right? Floximal. Check him out on Twitch, as it were. And this deck plays 3 copies of Invigorating Shower as well as Spooky Charge, right? So, Invigorating Shower, great tool for keeping your own discard pile thin, so keeping yourself in that unhaunted state and cycling other things back. So this was a really cool deck. Did you try this one out at all? Quick draw.
I wish I would have. I haven't yet though.
Okay.
It was on my list for sure. But the Invigorating Shower is really interesting because it's a card that when I first saw it, I was like, ah, this seems like it could be okay. I found that it's sometimes a discard, or sometimes you just name a house that you don't have and you just want to shuffle your deck,
Yep.
things like that. But it does pair pretty interestingly with Dark Heart of the Forest,
Mm-hmm.
whether you are trying to stay unhaunted or you are maybe like trying to time it right so that you become unhaunted at the right time, kind of like slow down your shuffle a little bit. I can see a lot of strategy with that.
Totally. And also worth noting that Spooky Charge has a significant downside generally, right? So if you're haunted, you get to forge, which that already gets around the Dark Heart. So key cheats, like we said, can forge through Dark Heart of the Forest. But then the downside, the typical downside, is to shuffle your discard pile into your deck, which you may play this card not, with no amber currently, and then just
Mm.
kind of shuffle yourself back, get down to one card and discard once you've shuffled and put Spooky Charge there. So this is a great reset everything, get myself into forging territory type of card. So I like the utility here. Obviously, great for forging keys, but also gets an extra twist with Dark Heart of the Forest in play.
Yeah. So I guess like the one of the questions we always ask in these episodes is what do you like to see in a deck with this double-sided artifact, in this case Dark Heart of the Forest? I think things like Invigorating Shower are very good with it.
Mm-hmm.
Better than they would normally be without it, I would say. Warfaline, you called it a Warfaline. I'm not so sure about that. I think we're gonna have to get like ask the audience here, Warfaline or Warfaline. I don't know.
How when you see a cat and you call it a what do you call it? What else? What's another name for a cat?
A feline.
Feline. Do you say not a feline? You say a feline?
You don't actually say feline.
Of course not. So I say warfaline.
You said lean.
Did I say lean? All
You
right.
said lean. I was like, where's he going with this?
I got mixed up on which side of the argument I was on.
Understandable.
Yeah.
We're flying, invigorating shower, very good ones to see. Till the Earth is an interesting one because it works both ways. But you can definitely use that to your advantage. I could see that being an interesting one to play with that. But then like some other cards out of house as well, like Immersioneer is one that sometimes I'm kind of like frustrated by Immersioneer because I'm like, man, I think it has the scrap effect of shuffling the
Oh yeah.
bottom three. It's so annoying if
So
you
annoying.
don't want to discard it. But with Dark Heart of the Forest, it actually has some good use. Arcane Transmitter as well, like scrap to shuffle your discard into your deck. So kind of giving some love to these kind of there's not many cards in Grim Reminders that make you less haunted, but they become better with this card. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's pretty interesting to look for those kind of cards.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned Boo. I love seeing Boo as a way to either speed myself towards a deck flip or to push you immediately into hauntedness and prevent a forge, right? So Boo becomes essentially a miasma or a like, hey, now you've got to get through your deck to flip. It's interesting too because it's often, Geistoid is often a house that wants to be haunted and take advantage of its hauntedness. So there's a little bit of tension there, but I mean, not necessarily anything significant, but
The tension I think makes it more strategic. I really like that tension. I think that kind of like brings out the best in Grim Reminders when you have that like the tension of being like I kind of want to be haunted, but I also don't want to be haunted. Like
yeah,
that to me is the most rewarding games of Grim Reminders.
totally. And yeah, totally. And I like to see options in each of my houses, right? So I like to see a Boo. I like to see an invigorating shower. Immersioneer, I suppose, but I like to see options across them or things that are kind of going to hit me, give me utility with scrap, so that I have kind
Hmm.
of tools regardless. Gosh, even the Brobnar dude that mills the top of each person's deck.
The Mournful Barn Burner.
Yeah,
After fight, discard the top two cards of any player's deck, one player's deck.
and then that has scrap to everybody discards one. Is that the one?
I think it might deal two damage if you scrap it, but I don't remember.
Okay,
Um,
so we're thinking of two different cards, though I like where your head's at. There's Or maybe we're not. Mm, 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 mm.
Well, there's also Webster, which is similar to the Mournful Barn Burner. Webster being a double-sided effect, after fight, you may mill a card for each damage on Webster, meaning you could go as little or as high as his damage is, but it affects both players. So could be pushing the opponent into haunted when they don't want to be, and it could be pushing you like to the bottom of your deck, so you make sure you shuffle. Um, I like to call these kind of cards like I've kind of referred to them as haunt control. Like we have amber control, we have creature control, we have artifact control, and I call these haunt control, where they're not just working on yourself and discarding your own cards and milling your own cards, but the ones that really let you manipulate your opponent's hauntedness as well. I think are
Mm-hmm.
very valuable with Dark Heart of the Forest, and so that's like Boo, Thalassophobia, Arcane Transmitter, and Mergeneer, Webster, as I mentioned. Dark Memento can actually work on both players as the scrap effect.
Yes. Is that right? Dark Memento. The scrap
See,
effect.
most
The
people,
scrap effect.
yeah, the scrap
Yes.
effect only.
Yes.
Yeah. Most people look at Dark Memento and they just think, like, oh, great, I'm going to be haunted the rest of the game. But if you're thinking about it in the case of Dark Heart of the Forest, then you actually have a chance to make your opponent haunted. Um, so there's all kinds of cards like this. A lot of the ones we already mentioned, Future is Past as well. And then you could say like Grizzly Exchange from Equidon, also Market Fluctuation from Equidon. Like these kind of things can impact how many cards your opponent has in their deck, whether or not they are haunted. And so these are also really good things that I look for in a Dark Heart of the Forest deck.
Cool. I 100% agree. 100% agree. And I definitely want to see Warflean. I definitely want to see some booze. And then after that, we'll see. Ideally, some in here somewheres which always seem to get me unhaunted when I don't want to, but would be kind of fun to snag two cards when I'm right at 10 and then put me at 9 to pass the turn. And we should set the record straight. We were mixing up Heavyweight Morik and Mournful Barnburner.
Oh shoot. Well, I had part right. I said Mournful Barnburner was the after fight discard the top two cards of a player's deck, so I had that part right.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the scrap wrong, so you had the scrap correct on it.
Our powers combined, quick draw. Our powers
That's
combined.
see, match made in heaven, JT.
There you go. Nice. But I actually don't know if I'd ever realized that Dark Memento lets you hit your opponent with the scrap effect. That's pretty cool. A good note.
I have yet to see someone do it, but yes, it could come in handy for you with Dark Heart of the Forest.
That's cool. That's cool. Huh. Neat. Well, I definitely want to see a Warfaline or two. I definitely want to see a Boo. I hope.
You did it again.
What Warfeline?
Everyone heard it. They're all right here watching.
It's
They
in the
all heard you say
recording.
Warfaline.
Oh, I forgot to start the recording. We're gonna have to start over. Oh, funny. Yeah, but things like Boo for Yourself or Thalassophobia are great for. Yeah, you might not steal necessarily, but even if you've got 6 left in discard pile, you can play that Thalassophobia and then get an immediate flip off of it. So I don't know.
Well, the Thalassophobia only works on opponent.
I am thinking about Technorachnophobia, the other phobia
It only works on yourself.
that
Yeah.
only works in yourself. Yeah.
Yep. There you
Hmm.
go.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
I might. There's no guarantees.
Yeah. So there's controlling yours and your opponent's hauntedness. I think is a key thing with Dark Heart of the Forest. Um, the other question that we always ask about, unless there's something else that you look for that hasn't
uh,
been mentioned.
so there are things that I look for in my opponent's list, and only because I mention this because there are fewer examples of them in Grim Reminders, but with OG Heart of the Forest, you get to sit there and amass these gigantic piles of amber, right? And everybody's seen screenshots from TCO or somebody taking a photo of, an IRL game where Heart was in play. And it's like this massive pile of amber, right? You're sitting there on TCO and it says like 125 next to your amber total. And everybody's like, oh, LOL, this is a ridiculous game. Um, Dark Heart of the Forest, there is going to come a time when the deck flips over and now you get to forge. Maybe you've exhausted all of your haunt control, your Geistbusters, as the chat pointed out. Good one, Ketzer. I like it. But there's no TMTP, there's no IG, right? So it's like, what's your plan for when that happens? So I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing something like Memorialize the Fallen um, as an option to hit right before my opponent flips. Some sort of, if not scaling, then mass Ember control. But I'm definitely on the lookout for things like IG or TMTP, interdimensional graft or TMTP, my opponent's list, to be wary of having myself sit there without a Forge a Key step, uh, and potentially giving my opponent a windfall of Amber. Yeah.
Hmm. In set, though, there is one card, Forge Master Og,
There is Forge
who
Master Og. Okay.
can do some good work. Forge Master Og says when a player forges a key, they lose the rest of their amber. And so if your opponent is amassing a large pile with Dark Heart out and they can't forge when they flip the deck, you can drop the Forge Master, and that is possibly the best scaling amber control in the set. Especially if you're talking about a Dark Heart situation. Like Memorialize can be good, but if they're like if they're amassing 20 or 30 amber, Memorialize is still not going to be enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Forge Master can do some really good work there.
That's cool. I didn't actually. I don't know if I realized until this exact moment that Forge Master was in there.
We talked about it last night.
Forge Master being in this set.
Yeah.
You know what? We had some weird audio issues. I'm not sure what I heard and what I didn't hear in that conversation.
You're hearing ghosts.
I might be. And there was another kind of interesting question in the chat that I wanted to ask you before we move on too. Did we ever clean up the timing around Forge a Key steps and start of turn effects? Right, like Miasma used to. I don't know if it still does. Maybe you know. So it used to be where if you played Miasma, it would also have the impact of having your opponent skip certain start of turn things. Does that sound familiar?
Not at all.
So there is. I'm gonna sound like an idiot trying to. Well, I'll pull up the timing chart, and then
Well, we have a timing chart expert in the chat right now in Floximal. I mean, does Floximal
just
remember anything about that?
just put the video up not long ago. Okay, it may have been
So
resolved.
it must have been because you have things like Cease Forge that at the start of the turn they lose a counter,
Hmm.
but they still go to the Forge a Key step, unless you're talking about skipping Forge a Key steps.
So there is start of turn. Yeah, happens before the Forge a Key step. Cool.
Right.
It used to be that start of turn effects. Some of them, don't quote me on exactly like all of them, whatever. But it used to be that start of turn effects triggered during your Forge a Key step. Used to be.
Hmm.
So you could play Miasma and then have somebody miss archiving a card with Director ZYX or something like that, and kind of have that happen. You're looking at me very skeptically. I'll find proof.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I'm sure it existed at some point in time. I have not heard that. I have to assume it's fixed now.
It appears to be fixed from this timing chart if I'm reading it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we can get a throwback Ask a Judge thing. Zoc, we'll see on the old BPP, the old Bad Penny Press, or Floxmal can remember from the days of yore.
Ketzer remembers, so you're not alone.
I'm not alone. Or I've just talked about it enough that folks are thinking they remember it.
Mandela effect here.
Could be. All right, cool. So we can move on. I've exhausted my tangent for the moment. Yeah.
All right. So one of the other questions that we like to ask in here is what makes a deck a Dark Heart of the Forest deck versus just a deck with Dark Heart of the Forest? So what makes a deck something that it's like, this is going to be a key part of a game plan or the game plan versus like, oh, this deck happens to have it. And, maybe I'll discard it. Doesn't really do much for me.
Mm-hmm. So my immediate answer is a critical mass of geist bustering things, hauntedness control type cards, and ideally with a key cheater too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely agree on that, especially Spooky Charge.
Especially Spooky Charge. So if you have those things, I think you have some ability to lean into Dark Heart of the Forest. If not, then you can still play it and use it for tempo, but it's less of an auto play, and you're gonna have to be a little bit careful about the situation. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's important to have that control yourself. A lot of out of house or out of set decks aren't going to have that much control over their hauntedness like Grim Reminders decks do.
Mhm.
And if you're playing against the wider meta, not just playing in Grim Reminders, there's a good chance that if you have good control of this and they don't, it will be advantageous for you to play it. If your opponent has more control over it than you, maybe it's not something you're going to want to play that game. You could get yourself into trouble that way. Or if they have like TMTP, like you talked about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. If I'm facing up against, I don't know, TMTP or IG plus, time traveler and live and help from future self. They have some tools to flip their deck. They have some tools to steal my amber after I flip and forge, and I'm not packing key cheats to time the amber cash in. Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit wary for sure.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. So of the decks we looked at, it was interesting because I definitely saw in all of these decks different ways to use the Dark Heart of the Forest. So it wasn't like a straightforward card that is the same in every deck. Like when I look at Curiosaurus, for example, I'm always looking for things to capture. Same thing with Whirlpool. And there's so many of these double-sided artifacts. It's like, yeah, this is what this artifact will do. This is what you're like looking for. This is how it's used. And I found that with Dark Heart of the Forest, even with just a small sample size, there is a variety of ways that it can be used. Like it can be used as just like a couple turn miasma, as you were putting it. It could be used as a way to kind of like combo with your scaling amber control a little bit and kind of just slow them down slightly. But it can also be used as like a total lockout. Not not quite as potent as the original Heart of the Forest, but with the right synergies, it can definitely lead to game states where you're just focused on keeping them haunted every single turn, no matter what. And if they don't have key cheats, they don't have R, then it's going to be very hard for them to win and get out of that lock, right? But that's a very different like way of playing the card than I think most people will play it.
Yeah, and you may be thinking a little bit about one of your local stacks, the Not at All Magisterial Mathis. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is a pretty
yeah.
cool one. I didn't actually get to jam any games with it.
You would love it. Let me tell you that much. I played about 3 games with it last night. A couple games, it was a little slow. Let me just kind of like go over the high level details of this though. Like, not at all magisterial Mathis. One of my local friends has this deck, and that's why I gave it a special try. But it's got 2 boos, which is great. It has ways of archiving the boo in Mehmet and also a Jervy. It has a Witch Queen to really synergize with that Jervy and to find the cards you need. It can get the Boo back by playing a Gravid Cycle. It can get the Jervy back after you scrap it for the archive effect by playing a Came Back Wrong. And so it has lots of ways to recur the boos to keep them coming after you play the Dark Heart of the Forest. So this deck is really it's an okay deck. It's got holes, but that's its game plan, and like it's really going for the lockout. And it can, if it has the time to set this up, and your opponent does not have those answers that we talked about of like hard R or key cheats, then this can really get in a near infinite loop until it can finally win the game via, just reaping with witches or playing pips or maybe a key abduction to walk off or a spooky charge to walk off. But a very cool deck with lots of recursion, lots of targeted archives, and it is very uniquely capable, I think, of playing that lockout. I looked around for other decks, and there's not that many decks out there that can really play Dark Heart of the Forest like a lock deck.
Mm.
Um, but those are kind of some of the things to look for if you're into that, and I know you are, JT.
Oh, absolutely. I'm liking this deck a lot. Yeah, so cool to see the double boo ways to recur it, some recursion as well, so you can really play those boos on maybe on yourself even early to put heart in the archive in the discard pile, maybe Jervy it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, like I said, I played 3 games with it, and I didn't win until the third game when I was starting to like really get the idea of how to set it up and things like that. And the third game, I got it set up, and my opponent played an Ecto Charge for key 2, so Ecto Charge was out, and I knew that they couldn't walk off with a key cheat. Um, and it was interesting because the game took probably 15 to 20 turns, and it took a lot of very slow, grindy setup.
Mm.
I was thinking of you the entire time, and my opponent asked for a rematch after the game, and I said, "I'm so sorry. I really hate playing these kind of decks. I'm here for science." Um, I appreciate you playing, and best of luck the next time we meet. I could not play another game with it because it would have been too long. But it would have been, yeah, you would definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, the correct answer was one moment I will rematch you, but I have to go get a new vial for your tears. You
Oh
know,
no, I thought you were gonna say I need to go have JT Russell log in as me, and then
switch seats. Bring in the lefty. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It
So
was it was a fun puzzle to learn and to play,
this
but I
definitely
didn't want
has
to do it twice.
some cool puzzle capabilities. And is firmly in the camp of Dark Heart deck as opposed to deck with heart in it. I think,
Hmm.
at least leaning that way to my eye, which is cool. Which is cool. Um, I think too though. I mean, yeah. Holes aside. A lot of the cards that are good for Dark Heart are also generally good with other things that are in set, right? So you're happy to see booze usually. Um,
Hmm.
I'm less and less unhappy to see one or two Warful lines in my in my lists and things of that nature. So
Yeah.
Thalassophobia less so, but
Hmm.
it can make an appearance. But
Yeah, and this one's got the Werf line as well.
hmm was I
Um,
really saying Warfaline?
you can go back to the tape, man.
Hmm. Hmm. All right, we'll put this one under what under review under contesting. I don't know. There's some
I'm
word for we're gonna move on, but there's an asterisk and we have to go back. I forget what
yeah.
the word is. I don't know.
Um, protest under
Nah,
protest.
I don't know. I'll look it up and
Well,
put it back in post.
if I even hear you edit this episode for you to say Warfaline every time, I swear I'm watching you.
Yeah, yeah. War. It's not even spelled. All right, chat. Come on now. It's Warfaline. We all know. Jeez. Yeah. But yeah, I like this deck. I can see myself enjoying it a lot. I'll give it a try. Got some Witch Queen shenanigans happening too, which is kind of fun. Making me sad once again that Amber Storm cannot hit my own creatures. Womp womp womp. But playing
Yeah,
Ready Jervy is still fun. Yeah.
it is. It is very fun. Yeah. Um, there's some good stuff here. Very cool deck.
Cool. Cool. Well,
Are there any other types of Dark Heart decks other than like you can use it to stall for a few turns and set yourself up, or you can use it for the lockout? Is there anything else out there? Do you think, as far as like ways to use this effectively?
I think those are the primary ones. So you're either leaning in for a lock or you're using it for tempo in some way. And I think your hope in either case is that you can get, yeah, more advantage than your opponent in those. And so whether or not you're going full lock is probably going to depend on whether you've passed some critical threshold of Geist haunt control, and whether or not you have, you know, another game plan that's sufficiently strong enough to ignore setting up such a lock. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm looking at not at all Magisterial Mathis. Yeah, it looks like it's a cool deck. It may not have a stronger plan A. Maybe it does, having not played it. But the lock potential is there, so it's going to lean into that. But I think there's probably a lot of decks out there that can use it for tempo and have just enough haunt control to to not get bitten by it, or have key cheats to ignore it at a critical moment, but will kind of take the splash benefit of having it out there and not necessarily worry about leaning into it as a semi lock.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely. Um, how about playing around it? So your opponent plays it. What are you doing? What are you thinking when your opponent drops the Dark Heart of the Forest? How does that affect your game plan from there out, or even before they play it? Knowing that it might come.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely thinking more about pacing myself for deck flips, right? Especially if I have no artifact control haunt control of my own, right? So a little bit like in how you would play against Winds of Death, right? So you'll see a Winds of Death in your opponent's list. You're both getting down towards the end of your draw piles, getting ready to flip, and there's this kind of standoff moment, right? And hopefully you were both kind of anticipating the standoff moment a few turns before, many turns before, and minding your pacing towards the flip, right? It's kind of like flip chicken. Thank you, Data Forge Stream. This is exactly a great term for it, right? Like who's going to flip first and then get burned. And I love actually, I think, when Winds of Death is used, quote unquote, fairly, this is actually a beautiful tension moment, right? Because there's advantage to be gained. It may not be, completely decisive. Now I'm going to, key abduction twice and walk off, but it's a huge swing, and it's worthwhile kind of not getting caught with your pants down in the chicken game. But you often need to be thinking many turns, 2, 3, maybe 4 turns ahead as you're pacing yourself towards the flip. And so I think that is also a factor for Darkheart, but in a slightly different way, right? Like you want to be at a place where you're forward check when the flip happens, and need to be semi confident that you're going to get that forge, and have in mind like, well, gosh, what happens if they take me off this check? Am I going to have some sort of haunted control, or am I going to be comfortable with what's on board to kind of get back up to check without putting myself in range of getting haunted? And it's not easy, right? Because
no, it's very hard to do,
especially if you need to have a board to get back up to threatening a check, right? Because your board, yes, it's a resource for reaping and getting some monies to make those keys, but it's also a liability, right? You're one board wipe away potentially from being right back to haunted and having to go back to flip your deck again.
Yeah. And if you have those creatures out, say you have 5 and discard 5 creatures on board, you're risking going haunted again if they are able to play a board wipe and just put everyone in your discard pile. So be cognizant of how many creatures you have on the board and where they might end up at the end of your opponent's next turn, and if that affects you being haunted or not. I remember watching your game against Drazkor in Rochester Sealed World Tour, and he played it so well to always make sure you were haunted, whether that was using what was the card that he had that made you discard the top card of your deck at the start of the turn? Was it
So
Sybil?
no, so I had stolen. I had awoken spontaneously. I think it was. Is it Spontaneous Awakening, or there was one of those two, Geistoid.
Poltergeistoids, maybe.
Poltergeistoids, maybe. It was one where I take your artifact and it's mine now. I stole
That's
one of
right.
his artifacts early on.
The haunted
It was
house.
a haunted house, and was cursing
Yeah.
it for the rest of the game as it put cards into my discard pile. And there was 2, maybe 3 turns where I started my turn at 9, flipped over a card. Well, now I'm haunted. Don't get to forge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was right before the Forge a Key step.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Right before Forge Key Step. So that was great. Well played by him. And there were just many turns where he'd pass with me with 9 cards in discard pile. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Yeah. So against it, think about, not just ending your turn not haunted. Think about what your opponent can also do to you to make you haunted before your Forge Key step as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Be mindful of all the cards that you have on board. They're all potentially things in the bin. If there's discard effects on the other side of the table, be mindful of those. And yeah, think about your pacing. I think there is an awful lot of griping that happens about Winds of Death. Some of it is totally warranted, but there's an awful lot that probably isn't. If you're careful about your pacing, you can mitigate a lot of its impact when it's being used semi fairly. And I think Dark Heart of the Forest asks you to kind of think in similar ways when you're lining up your deck flips for key moments.
yeah. I do think this is a very good card for adaptive.
I
I,
like it a
I think
lot.
this is a
Yeah.
really interesting one. I am jealous of all of those of you guys who sent us some decks this week. They're very cool decks. This artifact is definitely something I'm going to try to seek out, explore, try to find, maybe open someday if I'm lucky. Actually, I think I might have opened one and I sold it, but
There are
no
a
regrets.
handful of just talking design wise. There are a handful of quirky artifacts that I or quirky rares, I guess, that I really like. Um, Dark Heart of the Horse being one, Bottomless Depths being another.
Mm-hmm.
well, those are the two that jumped. There are two that jump to mind.
There are many.
There are
There are
many.
many.
There's a handful. I can think of two.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Hmm.
I actually, it's one of those cards, and I think Bottomless Depths, that you mentioned, since you mentioned it, it reminds me as well of like having that extra complexity about how to like maximize your value from it and how to play it well.
Hmm.
And those are the kind of decks and the cards that I like. So much that I'm trying to find a good system for kind of sorting cards or ranking cards by complexity,
Hmm.
just so that I can try to like plug that in and see which of my decks have the most complexity. And those are the ones that I tend to enjoy playing the most. And so trying to find those, especially for adaptive, I think is interesting way to approach it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So Dark
Yeah.
Heart would definitely be part of that.
Cool. Cool. I like it. If you're listening, chat. No. Oh, hey.
If I ever play anything besides Dark Tidings
Oh,
in adaptive,
mm,
then
make a special accommodation for cards with dark in the name when not
maybe.
playing Dark Tidings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. 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 Well, we also like to talk about situations that make you discard uh, our our titular, as the HFFS folks would say, card, double sided artifact card. So when would you be looking to discard Dark Heart of the Forest?
I think especially later in the game, if you're at two keys and you're just trying to pull ahead and forge your third one, then I think. Did you guys hear the cat? Did you hear that Warfaline?
Quick right, you have the war felines this episode, and the juicy thing is too. We are probably in minimal editing territory, so those are very likely you're gonna make it through.
She's been really loud tonight. I don't know. She's probably making many guest appearances. Um, Obviously, like if you're near the end and you have two keys and maybe you don't have as much of the hunt control, it could be risky to play it, even if like you're not haunted. If they can take you off for a turn, suddenly you get haunted again, and now you're like, oh, I really regret playing that. So
Yeah,
that's obviously a situation where you'd probably want to discard it. Um, I think it can be played for immediate value in some cases, um, but I think it's very important to have the ability to control how haunted you are. And if you don't have that ability, and if you don't have the ability to remove it from the board, there could definitely be a lot of situations where you regret playing it. And so I would just be wary if you're playing with a deck that has no artifact control or not a lot of milling of your own. I would think twice about playing it.
totally. Yeah, have an out in mind if things go south, especially if you're facing up against another Grim Reminders deck or a deck that seems to have a lot of cards that can control hauntedness. So be unmindful of that, and don't assume because you've looked at the set of your opponent's deck and seen not GR that there will automatically be no haunt ways to interact with the discard pile, or ways to interact with flipping. Yeah.
Yeah, older sets have different ways of becoming unhaunted. They will often move faster through the deck, like through Logos archiving and things like that.
Mm.
Some decks, like autoencoder, for example, if you're trying to play the long game, it is possible that an autoencoder player can archive like two-thirds of their deck and just never be haunted. So there are things like that that you would have to watch out for as well. Like it's not just a situation where you can say, I have Dark Heart out and I have all my booze and you have no artifact control, so you're never going to forge. Like there are other ways to attack it as the opposing player. And so, um, as a Dark Heart player, don't just assume that you don't see R and you don't see key cheats, you're safe.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you're looking through all the possibilities of counterplay your opponent might have.
Yep. Yeah, and good note from the chat too. Winds of Exchange decks can fly through their deck, whether you know if we don't call it efficiency, certainly velocity through the deck can be very high, getting lots of flips in there as tokens are made, um, and even the rare self purging decks can flip more quickly, or if it's just a high concentration of artifacts, right? Like Psy, another favorite of mine, which packs 12 or 13 artifacts, feels like it's flipping the deck constantly between having all those sticky cards on board, and also making tokens to boot. It's just always very low on cards in deck or cards in discard. Yeah, cool. I dig it. I dig it. Well then, well then. I don't know. Anything else we wanna hit on Dark Heart
I
of
think
the
I think we hit
Forest?
all the points that I had, all the notes that I had here.
Okay. Does it make you sad that I saw this in the chat? Don't think I didn't see it. That uh, ABCD is put into question when you're trying not to be haunted. You know.
Um, I mean, it could still be applicable, if you're haunted and you're trying to get unhaunted, like playing things that'll just discard cards from your hand faster, let you shuffle faster. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's still applicable, but once you get to flip the deck, then obviously you're not going to want to discard as much anymore. So,
Mm-hmm. Interesting caveat, or not caveat, but wrinkle to that too. Discarding a creature may be a better plan than playing a creature when you're approaching a deck flip, right? Because it is a kind of uh, when you're going to flip, but having it on board gives your opponent something to work with to push you back towards hauntedness, right? So you can think about that as part of your pacing towards hauntedness post flip, as it were,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
SB
SBCD,
SBCD
some sometimes be card discarding.
sometimes be card discarding. Yeah,
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
we are
Um,
sticklers for our mantras here. Just BCD all the T. ATD, ALT, ATT, all the time. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I like it. Well, cool. All right, I like that quick draw. Well then, without further ado, let's get a note from our sponsors this week. Sounds good.
let's do that.
Awesome. This episode of Bottom Beaker was brought to you by Sloppy Rat Pest Control, your ultimate defense against unwanted crucible critters. Our expert team specializes in humanely removing even the trickiest pests with precision and care. Say goodbye to those pesky sloppy rats nibbling on your gnarl gibbuses. Gnarl gibbuses? All right.
Goodbye.
Goodbye? Yeah, gibbosy. And enjoy a pest-free environment where your ideas can flourish. With our reliable and efficient services, you'll have one less thing to worry about on your path to victory. Trust Sloppy Rat Pest Control for a cleaner, safer Crucible experience. Very good. I could use me some Sloppy Rat Pest Control. I don't know about you, Quick Draw. Yeah, had
You
some.
have a rat. You have a rat problem.
No, not little mice, little guys. But I
Mm.
found some.
You don't have enough warfelines in your home.
I could use a Warfaline indeed. Yeah. To sweep up those mice, Yeah. Well, in any event, folks, I want to let you all know that Bottom Beaker is recorded live right here at twitch.tv/sloppylabwork at 9:30 Eastern Time on Wednesday evenings. You can find recordings of our past shows and other streams over at youtube.com. We are at Sloppy Labwork over there. And for the very best content, 34? No, 57 times distilled and scraped from the bottom of the beaker. You can search for that very phrase in your podcatcher of choice. And we'll be there with you, waiting for that deck to turn over and forge some keys. Thanks so much, Quick Draw, as always, for the delightful conversation this evening. Thank you, Quick Draw.
Thank you. Delightful double-sided artifact. Possibly the last one of the season, unless someone has a great idea. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see. Let us know in our Discord channel topic ideas if there's anything you want to hear. We've only got a few weeks left till the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. And
And stay sloppy.
His name's not being deep. Excellent. STUV sometimes take unplaying variants. Interesting. I like it.
I'm trying to figure out
UNH
what UNHANTSTW is. Always be card discarding unless something.
unless no hand and no so that works. Oh boy. Yeah, we need to send the whoa, angry
Yeah, little.
kitty.
She's a little flume right now. She's getting a little angry here.
All right. We'll
See if
have
she
to.
wants to
Oh,
make
hello
an
there.
appearance here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to credit her on the episode. Yeah.
She has very high royalty fees. You may not want to do that.
I've seen her on keys, I
She is on
think.
keys. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's on my Discord picture. So anyone that talks to me on Discord will recognize her. Ooh, get a little feisty,
Mm.
and it's time for her to go back down. So we actually, funny story. We talked about Drazcor earlier in your sealed match, and he was playing Dark Heart of the Forest. Um, and it turns out instead of you and I playing a game tonight, I believe you'll be playing your ABR match against Drazcor.
Yeah, we were scheduled to play in half an hour, so I'll send them a ping if they're up to playing a little early. Uh,
I don't think we have time to play the only Dark Heart of the Forest deck that I've ever played, which is Magisterial Mathis.
mm, perhaps not. Perhaps not. So we owe the chat a dark hard game at some point. Um, if Draz is typing. Oh, hey, just a minute. Okay, cool.
All right.
So we'll see how this goes. Uh, oh boy, is this? We haven't played any Alliance on stream since the very first one we did. When was the
When
last
we
time?
played, yeah, and I won on turn 4 with the library access combo.
That's right. That's
And
right.
then we were both like, we've had enough of this. We are done with this.
That was with me with two keys on check for key three, I think, at that point too, or something like
Yeah,
that.
you were about to win the next turn. Yeah.
Yeah, funny. But this was, to be fair, this was post. This was post or pre. Excuse me. Many, no, any restricted list and any guidance
Yeah.
on set crop. Although you played, I think what was still would
It
still
was all
be,
Coda.
yeah,
It,
yeah. I
it
had across that
is,
mashup.
let me think. Is it, I think it might still be legal, the one that I played.
It,
Scrambler Storm kind of messes with me because Scrambler
yeah.
Storm is in there. Um, Although I might have a better pod anyway than that now that I think about it. But
You might be getting hit with Scrambler Storm Library Access, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's on the list, to be
yes,
honest.
that's what it is. Yep, there was a Scrambler Storm in there. But um, yeah. So is he gonna play now, Drowscore?
He's wrapping up a game or something, and then we'll jam.
Great.
Yeah,
Um, then I think I'm gonna let you guys go, and you'll be streaming this game solo. I will join the chat and do some heckling.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Heckle away, heckle away.
Awesome. All
I'm gonna
right.
be
Permission granted to heckle.
I'm gonna keep you on just so I don't chat and dance.
Do you want to share your alliance build before?
Oh my gosh, do I ever? Let me see if I can find it. I'm playing the most degenerate. No, not these good ones.
Oh, Scramble Storm's off the list. Interesting.
Here we go.
All right, that's good to know.
Here we go. Scammers was off list now. Cool, cool.
You're going to want to stop the recording.
Oh, I'll stop stop the Zencaster recording. There we go. Cool. Let that finish up. Good reminder there. Yeah, I'm playing a very silly deck. I tried a couple out, and man, I will say too that this was a very interesting week in APR land. Uh, there was a lot of chatter about alliance builds, and boy, it is tough to go from zero to making reasonable decisions in the format. Like
We
how?
uh,
Yeah.
we have a secret weapon on our team in ABR this season, and you're very familiar with him. His name is Fabulousing.
Yes.
Um,
So, yes.
he
So,
loves to craft alliances. He made a ton of fantastic alliances for us. I think we're off to a pretty good start. I don't play till Friday, but thank God that we have someone on our team who really likes to make them because there's just so many options when you have a team of 14 people or all the pods that you have available to you. It's just overwhelming.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and I don't have a great spider sense for the format. It's like this seems kind of quirky. It could win a game, but is it gonna be enough? I don't know. All right, I have to turn on the alliance check, and there is the old Raz. So I'll bid you good night, quick draw, and
Yeah, good luck.
see you on the
I'll
other
be
side.
uh I'll be there to heckle you, and I'm sure Drascore is going to slaughter you.
We just might. Oh, the vote of
Well, good luck.
confidence. Thank you indeed.
Uh, I shall be watching your career with great interest.
That sounds like a Sith Lord thing.
It might be. That's a good. I'm glad you picked up on that. Good luck, man.
All right.
We'll
Thank you,
chat
sir.
soon.
Yep. All right. And thank you, chat. All right. Blorbin time. All right. So, what are we working here? Okay. Grim Reminders Alliance. We got some Winds of Deaths. We got a Key Abduction. We've got Rebel Xylophorex. A Dark Heart of the Forest, too. Cool. Gonna be fun. All right, cool. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. And look at that, chat. We got a Dark Heart game after all. Hilarious. I like it. Super on brand. Oh, 6 cards in hand. Let's keep this hand. I like this hand. It's a 2/2/2. I'm gonna, I think, make a bunch of blorbs and show them my hand. Maybe I'll go Mars Force first. We'll see. Yeah, lots of vodkas. Yeah, but I didn't see any artifact control on first blush. I don't. Dr. Xylo is going to be the Dr. Xylo Iron X Rebel combo is going to be kind of funky with my heavy subsidies, so they can kind of go over the top there. Rot Feast. Yeah. I don't see any ways to deal with a big wide board either, outside of Winds of Death. Interesting. All right, well, I'm going Mars here. I'm going to make a Vatminder and a Xanthix Harvester, and we'll see where this goes. Very cool. Heavy subsidies in hand with Martyr of the Vault. Martyr of the Vault's also kind of fun with Blorb Hive. Great thing to throw into the Blorb Hive. All right, so an Inhor somewhere gets used to mill. Hits the Junk Restoration and Echo Fly and double Scoop Up and Mars first. Cool. BR Geist, Ecto Charge, and Island. Holy moly, that's a big old island of Misfit Toys coming. Tempted to run those out now. Yeah, let's go Sanctum here. And they can fight my Blorb first if they really want to. All right, let's see if they're going to be really, really nice and give me one more turn to purge that island of Misfit Toys. That would be super delicious. They do have a really juicy suite of Geistoid cards in Discord already. So in here somewhere could come down again to activate BR Geist. They wouldn't be in Ecto range, but they could use Echo Fly to archive some stuff. They go. All right, so let's see if they do it. If they found a Boo, well, Holiday Festival's pretty good too. Didn't show any other Geistoid cards. I don't mind that. Harvest Skimmer also not showing us more Geistoid. I like that. They could get greedy here and pass. No, they go with Island of Misfit Toys. Makes sense. Junk Restro, turning them on. All right, here we go. Would have been a cool window. Would have been a cool window to get that auction off, but that's a big hit. Big hit. So we're going to have some work to do. Heavy subsidies, making them work a little bit harder for both the key abduction and the ecto charge, though. So I dig that. Let's see what they archive within here somewhere. I could have sworn I saw a Winds of Death. Did the Winds of Death come back with Island of Misfit Toys? No, they must have gotten it with... No, I don't see what they got it with. Okay, Junk Restoration brought back the Winds of Death. Okay, cool. So they may end up playing it here. Cool. Although they got back Dr. Xylo with in here somewhere, so they may not be planning on using the Winds of Death now. Let's see. Yeah, it may have been just a hair too late with that auction off. Halliday Festival comes out, plays the Ecto Charge, which won't quite get them there, thanks to my heavy subsidies, but they're close. I don't have a way to... Well, I can fight it in, but that's my whole turn. I'm tempted to let them forge here. Otherwise, they go back into Geistoid, play the Winds of Death, and have Dr. Xylo set up. Interesting. Ooh, we're in a tough spot, folks. Double Xylo, Rebel and Target. They can scoop up. They can't scoop up my Martyr with that one. Both scoop ups in discard. Tricky. I think I give them the key here, unfortunately. I'm going to discard this, play that one, and make 2 blorbs. All right. Key for them. Unfortunate. Unfortunate, too, that Winds of Death puts the Martyr in discard. Maybe there was a better play there to just attack, but oof, it's essentially a time walk on myself. There's the Winds of Death, 11 in archives. So they're still not going to key abduction for free. They'd have 17, 19. They'd need to get to 22. Okay, so still not quite there. No in the archives, though I do like seeing... Xanthix Harvester in archives with Double Rebel. Let's see if we can get super greedy and find one more Mars dude that can reap. I'm going to leave the Grey Augur on flank, I think. Yeah. Okay. Making some money. Mach 2 generator. Double rebel. Still not doing tons of reaping, but we may go Mars next turn anyway. Grey Rider there. No Blorb Hive in sight yet. We'll see. So they go Mars. Okay. We probably will see the Xylo. Xylo come down, likely with the target 2. Unless it's bottom 3. So there's Dr. Xylofrex. Dr. Xyloxylfrex. Winds of Death did not archive target. And I don't think we've seen it yet. Interesting. Well, let's see. We're in a tough spot. No denying that. Double Dr. Xylo. Although I don't think they have any Mars dudes in discard. So the first one won't do a whole lot. Unless they're going to be discarding. Okay, there goes Memrox. Cool. Scoop ups in the bin. Okay. Plays our next rebel. Very nice. So this is 4 uses / plays on the Dr. Xylos. 3, sorry, so far. It will be 4 once this one gets used. Well, gaining 1 there. Smashes my Grey Rider. Cool, cool. Memrox comes in, so we're at 4. They have 1 rebel? Just 1 rebel? Okay. Memrox reaps. Target comes down. 2 archive. Crop circles. Okay. And then back around we go. Key abduction. Gets them a key for 5 amber. Oof. Through the heavy subsidies. Okay. And target's going to come down and archive that key abduction, I'm assuming. Okay, so silos can't be used anymore. Abductomatic gets discarded. Not overly sad about that. So it's all ready, but they can't do anything. Plays the target to archive key abduction, I assume. Yep. Cool. Okay, cool. Interesting spot. So I can make 2 tokens in Mars and play the Harvester. I'll get to ready 4 things. So I can fight down both Xylos with double fights on each in Mars. In Sanctum, I can get 3 fights in only, so I'd have to leave a Xylo, and then 1 Xylo gets the other with Rebel kicking around. Feels no good. Okay, so I guess we're going Mars. We got to fight down these Xylos. They'll get to reap into target and bring some back on the following turn, so we may just be too slow anyway for it to matter, but we're going to move some cards and see what we get. So the generator comes in. We're going to make a token here on the left. I should have made it on the right, perhaps. Get some monies from the Grey Augur. I think we're going to do that with this one. Yeah. So you're going to come in, deploy to the right here. So first Blorb breaks the elusive on Xylo on the left. And second one finishes it off. And this one is going to do the same. Here. First one, Xylo, second Xylo, and we picked up our Grey Augur monies from breaking elusive with fights. Okay, cool. I think they get to Reap in Mars to tuck away target, and we'll see if we can recover from there. It's gonna be interesting. Indigeistoid. Okay. Geistoid's interesting here. Snippy we haven't seen, I think. Did BR Geist get archived? BR Geist is in discard. So Snippy we haven't seen. There's another junk restoration? Or no, that one came back. Interesting. Haunted House, very cool. Discard Snippy, takes out Harvester. Yeah, makes sense. And then will they flip their deck? They won't. Interesting. Okay, so I need to get rid of this target, I think, before they do any more damage with it. Cool. Sanctum feels good. Let's go Sanctum here. Red-handed registry. We'll get a Reap in first with Cat, and then Cat's going to fight the target. Yep. And I'll get monies from the Grey Augur with the fight. Yes. Do we care about this Rebel? There's a Crop Circles coming too. So we are expecting to see a Mars turn probably before the flip. I don't know. I think I let them flip and then put... No, I kill this Rebel before the flip, so it gets shuffled back into the mix. The Reap there would have put me at check, so that may have been a better play. But we're gonna see. I may have missed that. Yeah, they archived their Winds of Death, didn't they? Womp, womp, womp. Okay, so that was quite a misstep. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That might have been ill-advised. Uh-huh. Cool. Well. Interesting. So they can go to 18 cards in hand next turn. They've got 7 amber. That's 25. That's enough to forge through heavy subsidies. I can't kill the Martyr of the Vault currently. Okay, so we're going to have a fun Mars turn. End the game with a bunch of blorbs on board. Seems nice. I suppose a marginally better turn may have been to use the flea market and hope to get lucky. Mimicry? Yeah, would have been a better turn. But, we got style points. Blorb's on board. Yeah, good game. Good game, buddy. Missed that one getting archived. Oh, nice one. Next time, Blorb's coming for you. Yeah. Let's do it. I'm going to go first. Draw my Blorb Hive hand with Auction Off. That doesn't have either. This hand has neither. Okay. But I like the heavy subsidies again. And we got a quick archive on Clone Home. That's cool. Junk Restoration shows us Arnix Rebel at Dr. Mars first. They take back Junk Restoration. Very nice. Archive it with Mamet, the Mars first. Very cool. All right. Sanctum comes down. To be played here. Would I rather have a fight and a token or an extra reap on the Grey Rider? I want the token. Yeah, I want the token. Yeah, and we'll have some armor soak up that damage. Okay, cool. I got rebels. I got rebels too. There you go, Geistoid. Would rather not see the island, if you please. Taking the archives, playing Junk Restoration again, showing us Memrock's Bog Spitter Spooky Charge. Cool, cool. In here somewhere to mill some more things. Island of Misfit Toys is in the bin. Echofly Archives in here somewhere. So a temporary Island of Misfit Toys in the bin. And then BR Geist will get a card. Some good targets. Haunting Witch for an Amber. Okay. Don't mind that so much. So let's see. Winds of Death coming. Perhaps. We just go Mars and spew some more tokens out. We can reap for 6, and then rule of 6 the Grey Riders seems pretty good too. I guess we just do that. Yeah. Although I'm tempted to maybe wanting to move some more cards. We'll see if I regret this one. So 1. This will be 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. And a reap. Okay, that's a thing. That's a thing. Grey Rider's doing Grey Rider things. Xylo comes down. Double Xylo. Ew. With a Rebel. Holy moly. Well, it's pretty good. That's pretty good. Hemrox comes in. Probably going to fight off some Sanctum. No, gains 2. Okay. Oh, Mars first on the Ironix Rebel. Nice. Very nice. Serves me right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty good. Oofa doofa. Oofa doofa indeed. Plays Disrupt Sword. Fights off my other Sanctum dude. Okay. Well, it's a key. We have our hive here. So still haven't seen the Winds of Death. We can get enough fights in. Excuse me. To take out the Xylos. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we probably try and get the Blorb Hive as well. So this guy can take out Disrupt Sword. And then we hit both Xylos with fights. Yeah. So taking the archives here. Playing the thing. Minder makes a token. Making tokens. Do I want another? I guess I need all 6 fights. I can leave the Disrupt Sword and send them into something else, but I don't know if I want them in the same place for Winds of Death to pick them up. I would want them to work a little harder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Make sure we get that archived. Cool. 2, 2. Yeah. So I'm gonna put this one in the bin. Fights Xylo. Fights Xylo. And then fights Xylo. Fights Xylo. Comes into the right. This one fights here, gets back the Blorb Hive and plays it. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, chat. You'll have to tell me what I did wrong there. All right, and Untamed. Hmm. 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 Yeah. Haunting Witch for sure. Very nice. Damage pips for days. Double Haunting Witch. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah. This is a good call. Could be. Hmm. Some Iron X captures coming, which is kind of nice. Discards Dark Heart of the Forest. Cool. Okay. Plays the Mimicry to copy. Nothing. No actions. Okay. Cool. Well, Ironix Captain can capture 2, 4, 6. I need to capture 4 at least to take them off check, so it means I have to leave one of these around. All right, let's see. Yeah, let's go Mars here. Take those archives again. This is not an Ironix creature. Okay. Transitory Philosopher. Oof. Hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 creatures accounted for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 15, 16. Skeletor Mormook. Still coming. Ugh. Yeah. I think this is a fight, unfortunately. Here. And I'll leave the other. Putting another creature in discard for archive purposes. Wouldn't mind putting a rebel in there, but I don't have. I guess those guys get to do some work. Puts them at 11. Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. There's a Martyr of the Vault. That's something. Spooky Charge should be still in discard. They've got the Ecto Charge, which they can get a key with here. So that's cool. Key Abduction can be played 8, 9, 10, 11. It's not quite there yet, but with 2 Reaps, that should be enough. Yeah. I should have tracked that Key Abduction a little better. but I'm going to get a bunch of cards in hand as well. And they fight off my rebel as to not give it back to me post-key abduction. Makes good sense. Probably going to fight off the captain. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Archive scoop up. Yeah. Okay. Paste 13 amber to forge the key. All right. Archives key abduction. Memrox. Oof. Yeah, okay. I'm playing the Mars Jews out with that, which is brutal indeed. So I can go Sanctum and bring them back down. They're going to have Reap for 6. Brutal. Brutal indeed. I think that's our only play here. Okay. Geistoid for the Ecto Charge. That would be impressive. Island comes down. I feel like they could have hit it with Key Charge, right? Key Abduction, right? 2, 4, 6 brings them to 11. Maybe not. Winds of Death, sure. That's interesting, though. So they can get to 21 cards in hand from 5. It's gonna be good enough. I'll capture 2. Yeah, that's pretty good. I can get them down a little lower in Equidon. And I could capture a bunch, not a bunch, just a couple here. But all my Martians will get bounced with their key abduction, so there's not a ton of utility in that. I think we're actually going Equidon and capturing on a non-Mars creature. Cool. And we're passing on the archives. So we'll purge this thing. They have not very exciting archives anyway. Pull-up stakes, not terribly exciting at the moment either. Unless we determine that we really need to shuffle back a thing. Suzanne, Transitory Philosopher. Yeah, those things are at risk to getting scooped up, but the Martians just get bounced with key abduction. So I think we gotta play it like that. And the Mars dudes are getting bounced, but I have an empty deck. Womp womp. All right, womp womp. Yeah, 19 in hand. There's a key. Well done. Yeah, yeah. Sanctum token. Yeah, fun one. Fun game. Yeah. Well, I'll send off with some pleasantries there. And well, sorry to the sweeper keepers, but yeah, I was an ill-equipped vessel to take this one down. Sanctum token. You mean interesting? So I had a Sanctum card under a token that I should have smashed to put it in the bin. Is that what I missed out on? I may have. I probably wasn't very good about checking which. No, let's see. I had a couple. Hmm. Thinking back now, I had a turn there where I had a couple fights with Blorbs that would both die, but I think I only had two ready. Blorb Hive. Did I miss it? Did I miss a chance to smash a token that was a Sanctum thing I really wanted in the bin? Maybe I did. Maybe I did. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look back at it. The magic of having recordings. I'll be able to check through. But oh yeah, glad you appreciate the thought process. Yeah, we were reaching for options here. Heavy subsidies, fun in this matchup, or not in this matchup, in this environment, to put a little bit of extra higher hurdle for. Yeah, I give folks a little bit higher hurdle for those free key cheats. Um, he may have had a key abduction walk off a turn sooner. I'll have to double check, but it was close. You start adding a little extra number, and adding three instead of two is just like you got to break out the big textbooks, you know. But yeah, this was the alliance deck that I played. It was a fun one. I was between this and sort of a Worlds Collide zoomy thing, and played them both once against our good quick draw, and decided that this one was way more fun, so we went with it. But cool deck. Actually, two of the houses here come from the same deck. Both the Equidon and Mars are from a favorite Worlds Collide deck of mine, and is also where the Blorb token comes in. So this is one that I enjoy playing a lot. So you can ignore the heavy subsidies things, but you get to do cool dinosaur philosopher things on balance, and you also get Tribune Pompidus. But some other cool interactions in the Equidon that we didn't get to see happen. Tourist Trap is always fun, especially when you get to capture Amber. And yeah, the first game, when I kind of decided to have my swan song for the game be a board full of Blorbs, I should have. If we were super tryharding, right? I should have looked through their Archon card and cross-reference with the discard, because they had an empty deck at the end, and see what my potential hits were with Flea Market. So we may have left some outs on the table there, but we ended with fewer outs and more blorbs. So, you know, can't count that against my solo imbalance. But in any event, thanks y'all for hanging out, and I'll sign off there. We'll see you around the lab. Later, peeps.